Hey, this is Mr. Beckstrom, and today I want to take a look at just a sample problem from section 2.1. This is on frequency distributions for organizing and summarizing data. And today what we're going to do is we're going to create a frequency table or a frequency distribution. And what I did was I just came up with some sample data. This is what the frequency table looks like, and here is the formula for finding the class width. And I have 20 pieces of data, so just suppose that I asked 20 people, how many dates have you been on in the last year? And these were the answers from those 20 people. So 2 people said they've been on 1 date. One person said they were on 15 dates. One person said they were on 33 dates. I think they were probably lying, but maybe. And I want to take this data and I want to put it into a frequency distribution. And then in the next video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that frequency distribution and I'm going to turn that into a histogram. But for now, let's see what we need to do. So the first thing that we need to do is decide how many classes that we're going to have. Now, for this class, we're going to normally use 5 different classes. You can go more than that, and occasionally you can go less than that, but we usually want a minimum of 5, and that's how many rows that we're going to have down here. The only time you usually get more than that is if you have like a whole lot of data. But 5 is a good amount if we're doing this by hand, because if we're doing this by hand, we're generally not going to have thousands of pieces of data. So, once we've decided how many classes we're going to have, then we're going to go ahead and figure out our class width. Now we're going to use this formula, but whatever value that we get, we're actually going to round it up. Even if we get a whole number, like if we end up getting a number like 4, I'm going to round it up to 5. If we get a number like 4.2, I'm still going to round it up to 5. If I get a number like 5, I'm going to go up to 6. We always want to go a little bit higher than whatever number we get from this. So I'm going to go ahead and just write this by hand. So our class width when we're figuring this out, ATH, all right, that's going to be equal to our maximum data value, which is 33, and minus our minimum data value, which is 1, all divided by the number of classes that we're going to use. And we said by default we're going to use 5. Unless I specify some other number, let's use 5. So when we calculate that, that's going to be 32 divided by 5, which is going to be like 6.4, I think. Let me just double check. 2 divided by 5, 6.4. So this is equal to 6.4, and remember, we're always going to go a little bit higher to the next whole number. So we're going to go up, and I'm going to use 7. So that's the width. And how does the width come into play? Well, that means that the lower class limits, which we're going to go over in just a second, and this should be like a little up arrow. That wasn't, I always go up. So to 7. So when I do my lower class limits, I'm always going to go up by 7, because all of our classes have to have the same width. So the starting number can either be 1 or 0. You always start off with either the lowest value, or you can even go lower, but it really wouldn't make a lot of sense to go negative numbers in this case. So I'm going to start with 0, and I just need to make sure that it fits. And the way that I make sure that it fits is that when I'm done doing my classes, I need to make sure that I got 3 requirements. The first requirement is that all of my data will fit in my classes, and you'll see what that means in just a second. The second requirement is that there's at least 1 piece of data in the first class, and then the last requirement is that there's at least 1 data in my last class. It's okay not to have any data in some of my middle classes, but I have to have at least 1 in my first class and 1 in my last class. All right, so if I start here at 0, like this, And I'm just going to keep adding 7. So 0 plus 7 is 7. I'm going to do this till I have 5 rows. 7 plus 7 is 14. 14 plus 7 is 21. And 21 plus 7 is 28. So that's my 5 rows. And these are all my lower class limits. And then I got to do my upper class limits. Well, if this one starts at 7, that means that this one has to end at 6. Because this goes 0 to 6, and this one starts at 7. And then I can just keep adding 7 again until I go down. So 6 plus 7 is 13, which makes sense because this one starts at 14. And then 13 plus 7 is 20. 20 plus 7 is 27. And 27 plus 7 is 34. All right, so let's check my 3 requirements. First requirement, does all of this data fit in here? Yes, because the smallest number is 1, and it can fit in here. And the largest number is 33, which this goes up to 34, so good. Next requirement, do I have at least one number between 0 and 6 in the first class? Yes, I do. In fact, all those numbers are in there, so we're good. Last requirement, do I have at least one number between 28 and 34? Yep, looks like I have 3 numbers, so we're good. So this is a good fitting class structure. Now, if something went wrong, if let's say, for example, this only went up to 32 and it didn't fit this 33, then I could have gone back here and redone it and started at 1, because if I pushed the 0 up to 1, I still would have fit the lowest number here, and then that would have pushed it up to 33. So there are some cases where we can play around with it. We might even want to change our class width a little bit, but we just need to make sure it fits. We need to make sure those 3 requirements are met. All right, so now to do the frequency here, all I'm going to do is go through each number and see how many are in each class. So how many is between 0 and 6? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So that is 7. How many is between 7 and 13? That would be 1, 2, 3. 14 and 20. 1, 2, 3, 4. 21 and 27, 1, 2, 3, and 30 and 32, or 33. That should be 3. So let me make sure I did this right. 6, 10, 20. That looks right. The total there should be 20. And that is my frequency distribution. And then the last thing I can do is, I would have put it there if I thought about it, because they talk about it in here too. I can do a relative frequency. And a relative frequency, I'll just shorten it there. That's the percentage. That's the percentage of each one of these. And in order to do that, you're just going to find the percentage. So you take each of these values and you put it over the total. So this first one would just be 7 over 20. So if you went to your calculator, did 7 divided by 20, you get 0.35, which you could just leave it at that. So 0.35. 3 over 20 is going to be 0.15. 4 would be 0.2. And these last two would be 0.15 because it's 3 divided by 20. Just so. Sometimes they include that relative frequency, sometimes they don't, but that should all add up to 1. And if you convert those to percentages, you can do that as well, and then it would add up to 100%. All right, if you have any questions, let me know, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.